line to start. Fast timeline to start, but we're ready to hit the ground running. Thank you. If they have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Mike, it's Flory here. Just a quick question. On that time frame, do we have any contingency? Do we have any, last year COVID hit, we stopped construction, right? Is that factor in this schedule that you have, that you're predicting here?
No, sir. This is a very aggressive schedule that I've put together, and based upon the fact that we've been down this road before with this area of the city and the prior Pickering study, this could be pushed out 6 to 8 months should the pandemic spring up again, should the MSBA not have time in their schedule for us, or a slot in the schedule, I should say. So this, I think, in my estimation, is the best, most aggressive schedule.
Thank you.
Mike, quick question. This is going to be 1,100 on a one site, right? Currently?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So if you were to use the Pickering site, that's 600 students. You would then draw students from Marshall and Reed into Pickering?
Yes, sir. It would follow logically that there'll have to be a redistricting of the middle schools at this point in time.
Okay.
So, is there any discussion or thought about being able to use the school, community groups, or other people outside of schools after hours?
I think I would defer that to the chairman.
Yeah, so Rich, you mean once the school is built to be able to use the building?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, once
Yeah.
the school is built, are we thinking about access and community access? Like I know we used a tech school for things for non-educational. Is that in the thought process?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think this committee can continue as we go through the process. We'll be setting the priorities for the design, and I think it's a good thing to keep in mind.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so the main thing we need to do tonight are to take a couple steps forward in the process that Mr. Donovan just presented. So the first is the vote to elect an OPM selection committee. I think Mike has a couple recommendations in terms of the composition of that committee to try to move forward on the timeline that we'd like to do as an initial matter to figure out how we're going to hire an OPM. Mike, could you speak to that, please?
Yes, sir. My first recommendations would obviously be the chairman, yourself, Mr. Mayor, superintendent, and Mr. Smart as the MCPPO for this project. After that, anybody who would like to volunteer would be appreciated.
And question here, is this subcommittee actually put together just on the selection parts, or we're putting together to review the document that's being sent out? Or are we actually doing a selection of the PM here?
This committee actually performs the selection. They'll get copies of the responses. They have to rank them,
Okay.
go to the interview process, and then make the recommendation to the full committee.
I would like to volunteer myself. I can speak on my credentials if you like. I'll leave that up to you if you feel as if that's necessary or not.
I too would volunteer, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, great.
How many members, Mr. Mayor?
I think we're looking for 5 as a number. But I don't know that that's set in stone if we have.
Yeah, I'd volunteer. I'd volunteer myself, I was on the last one.
Okay.
Mr. Gale, you volunteers as well.
Say it again?
I'll volunteer, Mr. Mayor.
Jesus. Got the whole committee volunteer.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to work with Mr. Ford on it. Like, we could be co-people on it, because I'm learning, so I want to, learn. Because I am the co-chair of the Building and Grounds for the school committee.
You're the chair, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I would as well, Mr. Mayor, so that we have somebody from the council represented.
So are these meetings mostly going to be during the day because we're going to be interviewing OPMs? Or are they mostly going to be at night, or do we not?
Mike, could you say a little bit more about the pacing and the
'Cause it's-
timing of this?
Sure. So the RFS, once we put together and agree on the final version for recommendation to the full committee, will be presented to the MSBA on February 10th. After February 10th, they'll have a chance to mock it up, but we'll be placing an advertisement
16th.
for the 16th. Excuse me once. So we will be moving very quickly. The meetings can be either in person or they can be via Zoom. I personally think it's better to interview people when you can see them, because it's harder for them to not answer your questions directly. The interviews can be during the day or at night. They're flexible. These firms want this job. They're willing to meet in the evenings, and it's done either way, depending on the community's wish. That they have no objections to meeting in the evening. But it will be moving quickly for the first month, and then we'll move on to the designer.
Are these, Mike, are these going to be public meetings that need to be that are posted and
Yes, sir. All these meetings are public meetings, and they need to be posted in the clerk's office, and then with the cooperation of the school department, all our minutes should be posted on the school's website, a Pickering School Construction website, so that people can either watch the meeting or read the minutes. But they are public meetings.
great. So then for some of those folks that indicated an interest, people could still attend all the meetings if they didn't actually sit on the committee. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I wonder, I think we have myself, Dr. Tutwiler, Joe Smart as the three that we're starting from, and then the others and then we have, from the school committee, Lorraine Gately, and from the council, we have Rick Starbird. And then we have Peter
Kolakithis.
Thank you.
Peter K.
Peter K. Okay, easy enough. John, Steve. Is there anyone else? No.
I would
Okay.
be interested, but I'm willing just to sit in and listen. I don't think I need to be on it.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Rich. All right, so so for John, would you be willing to play that role as well with Lorraine? Just to, coming to all the meetings or whatever, but just to keep the number manageable?
Yeah,
Okay,
but you're definitely a good idea to keep the meeting small, the
Okay.
team small.
okay, great. Thank you, John. So then, Steve, could we ask you to do the same? Welcome to join the meeting, but just to limit the number of people.
Of course.
Great. So that puts us at 5. And then John, Steve, and Richard are coming. So Peter, what are your thoughts here? Tell me, I guess it's nice to meet you, Peter, first of all.
Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, for those who may not know, I've worked with Dr. Pat for many years now. My son is actually flourishing in Lynn Public Schools SPED program. I have a vested interest in this because he is currently now a shoemaker and is to go to Pickering following shoemaker in middle school, which we all know is in badly need to be replaced, rehab, and whatnot. That being said, professionally, I'm a president of a civil engineering company that's been around for over 100 years. I oversee multi-million-dollar contracts, operating from water to wastewater to distribution and collection. I've been on the other side of the table on multiple interviews, more on the operation side, but very familiar with the criteria of contracting and design work. So that said, I'm a licensed PE in multiple states, including Massachusetts, which is a licensed professional engineer. I also have a master's degree in civil engineering. So that's who I am.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. Okay, so do we have any concern to there being an even number of people? I think generally that's not ideal for a committee, but Mike, what do you think? That we probably going to come to a consensus anyway?
I think we're gonna, yes, sir. I think we'll come to a consensus. Usually it'll be 1 or 2 firms are gonna jump right to the top, and then it's a matter of the interviews and references.
Okay, so then I think we were planning to go to 3 to 5, but I think I think we have some great interest here. So I think we can go for 6. I mean, up to the whole committee ultimately, but what if we put forward then a slate of myself, Dr. Tutwiler, Joe Smart, Lorraine Gately, Rick Starbird, and then Peter Kolakithidis. Is that right?
That's fair. Yeah.
Do we need a vote on this?
Yes, but before we do that, did I miss anyone? Is there anyone else that had expressed an interest? Okay. That's my office. Sorry.
So can I make a motion to appoint all the committee as read by the mayor? Is that, can I do it at one swoop?
Yes.
You have to do it. All right. So I'll make a motion to appoint whoever you said.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Joseph Smart, to approve.
Yes.
Lorraine Gately.
Yes.
Yes. Superintendent Tutwiler.
Yes.
Stephen Smith.
Yes.
Michael Donovan.
Yes.
Kevin Rittershouse.
Yes.
Deborah Ruggiero.
Yes.
Mike Bertino.
Yes.
Rich Marlin.
Yes.
Peter Kay.
Yes.
Flory Makela.
Yes.
Jim Ridley.
Yes.
Rick Starbird.
Yes.
Diana Chakoudas.
Yes.
Jessica Gerardo.
Yes.
Karen Miller.
Yes.
John Ford.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that it?
Motion's approved.
All right, great. Motion carries. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Next order of business is the draft RFS for the OPM. Mike?
Yes, sir. I prepared a draft of the RFS for the committee, the OPM selection committee, so that they can review it and make a recommendation, make any changes they need to, and meet, discuss it, and then vote to send it forward to the full school building committee.
Great, so that we will take up that as in the subcommittee. And just as a reminder, the subcommittee will be posted. We will let you all know when it is, and you are all more than welcome to join us and participate. We will also give you an update at our next meeting. So the next item on the agenda is to vote to schedule our next meeting for February 7th, which should give us enough time to meet as a subcommittee and do the work that Mike just mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Peter.
Did we have could we chime in if there's any comments or edits to this before it looked like we moved off that agenda item to the next date, but I didn't know if this was an open forum for any comments or questions on the RFS.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to take comments and questions. Do you want to do it here or in the subcommittee?
It's your, I just was trying to follow the agenda, so it's up to you. We can do it on the subcommittee or we can do it now. I just have two or three general comments, right?
I'm suggesting that it happens here, so at least it's an open platform, or at least we're hearing the conversation. Even though we're now on the subcommittee, at least all the members are at least hearing it.
Sure, yeah, I'm happy to do that. And just so you know, Flori, you're also welcome to come to the subcommittee and listen to the general discussion as well. That's going to be an open discussion, and we will let the committee members know when that's scheduled for and the time and location and so on and so forth. So, because I imagine others may have comments that they don't share today, but you're definitely welcome to join that. Okay, so Mike, are you prepared to take comments now that people might have?
Oh, yes, sir. Anything you'd like.
Peter, go ahead, Peter.
Okay, thank you. Really quick, I think you did a great job giving background on the school and the current needs. Clearly how dated the building is and the HVAC system there. I know I physically walked the building more than once and have done my own research on the building. And I know asbestos is a lot in there, clearly by the age of the building and the like. I was hoping in the RFS, as we're talking about criteria and what we'd like to see, how a future contractor will be able to handle or design, considering the amount of asbestos is in there. I think that would be heavily weighted, as well as if one of the proposed options is to rehab and renovate, how are you going to do that when you have a full school of children with asbestos in the building? Which again, it's just an option, but nonetheless, how to handle such a hazardous material potentially ongoing with children in the building, let alone heavy construction that's going on in or around the facility. So I was hoping in the RFS, just as much as all the criteria, if there's some sort of asbestos abatement experience with the OPM is outlined. The other thing I was hoping to also see in here, as I indicated before, many of the children on the SPED program, special education program from Shoemaker, tend to go to Pickering or be assigned to Pickering. And I was hoping, and again, in the RFS, just as much as it talks about the gymnasium and administrative offices and the like, I know at times the SPED program gets shifted a lot in that building, especially in different parts of that building that may not be favorable, especially for these children. So another ask that I have in the RFS is how they will handle maybe different departments or potentially some special consideration towards the SPED program, because I would think that this would be a great opportunity to support those children.
Yes, sir. I can add these comments, these in if you'd like. This RFS is for the owner's project manager. So the very points that you brought forward will be put into the design selection of the designer, that they have the experience. The OPM in this type of construction, public construction tends to, while having experience doing this, doesn't have any say to the actual design. They're going to be on the administrative side, possibly some recommendations to the designer, but it would be completely the designer's option to take those recommendations or not. But I can definitely put those 2 points into this RFS.
And Mike, I just have a follow-up question. Is the PM here will be responsible of selecting the GC and the designer, or we'll get an opportunity to vote on the GC and the designer?
No, the OPM will be preparing the RFS for the designer, and then the same process that we're going through now for the OPM, there'll be a selection committee for the designer.
Okay.
And then once the designer's on board, the entire building committee is going to have to make a decision whether we go conventional 149, design, bid, and build, or we go with the construction project manager.
Okay.
Like we did at Thurgood Marshall, and it was a much smoother project than the design. It's kind of what's recommended these days for a project of well over $100 million.
I agree. Okay. So it almost seems like it's a little premature to start talking about abatements and the overall layout, for the building. It almost seems like we still have to go through this process first and then start talking about who's going to be in which department, which floor. It almost seems like that's later on, sometime around May, July, I think. Am I correct, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
So, Peter, do you have
Rich.
a follow-up? Peter looked like he had a follow-up, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no. My only follow-up is, again, we went through the history of the building, and I thought it would be prudent to indicate, obviously, the age of the building. We clearly gave a background and history of the building and the specific experiences dealing with a building of such age, and/or I think it would be important, even in the OPM role, that they can help identify these problems and needs versus many other buildings. So that, again, I am fully in agreement that we're way ahead of exactly the layout. But I think in the OPM role, what's the experiences that they have in designing around some of these constraints that I pointed out? Never too early to talk about it.
Thank you, Peter. Rich.
So I tried to go find the document you sent out, and then I couldn't find it. But so we're still in the process of getting somebody we're either going to do a brand new school, or we're going to do an addition to the existing school. So when we do the OPM, are we going to ask for their experiences in doing both? Because I mostly have knowledge on stuff where it's a brand new school, not where you're trying to, I know, I think Arlington High School is actually being built while the school is still operating, but mostly they're brand new schools and brand new buildings. So I assume we were going to ask experience in both of those. I don't know how we make the decision on who to pick without having the knowledge of which way we're going. And I guess a lot of you have more experience in this than I do. So,
Mike, you want to speak to that? Yeah.
Yes, sir. Definitely will be asking for their experience on both renovation and addition and a new school. I'm not making any prognostications, but just because we went through the study before, the probability of successfully renovating and putting an addition onto the existing Pickering school to jump it from 600 students to 1,100 will be difficult to do. So the probability is that this will be a new building on a site selected by this committee. But yes, the OPM will be asked to show us his addition renovation experience as well as the new building. And you'll be surprised. Some people tend to specialize in one thing. So the committee will need to ask some good questions to those people.
So was that leave people like myself who attend Pickering many, many years ago, nostalgic reason? I want the building to stay the way it was. I'm like, how do you handle that?
We could all go home if we wanted to stay the way it was.
That's why we have people establish their biases early on. Thank you. Those are great questions. Any other questions while we're on this on the RFS? Great. Seeing none. Next item is the vote to schedule the next meeting of this committee for February 7th was the day we were shooting for. And again, this is a time-sensitive process to get the document to the MSBA by the 10th. So that's what we were hoping to do. And I think we're, yeah,
No, it works for me because
great. I think we're going to ask for a vote on that. And, you know, we set the meeting for the evening on the thinking that we're more apt to get community participation if it's not during the workday. And so I think that is how we're thinking about that, if folks are willing to do that. So then can we, someone share a
Make a-
motion? Yeah,
Make a motion to schedule the next meeting of the school building committee for February 7th at 6 PM.
Second.
roll call, please.
Joe Smart.
Yes.
Yes. Lorraine Gately.
Yes.
Pat Tutwiler.
Yes.
Stephen Smith.
Yes.
Mike Donovan.
Yes.
Kevin Rittershouse.
Yes.
Deborah Ruggiero.
Yes.
Mike Bertino.
Yes.
Rich Marlin.
yes,
Peter Kay.
Yes.
Lori Makala.
Yes.
Jim Ridley.
Yes.
Rick Starbird.
Yes.
Diana Jacutis.
Yes.
Jessica Gerarda.
Yes.
Karen Miller.
Yes.
John Ford.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you. So again, this is the first meeting of what will be many, and we're thrilled to have a talented group of people come together to give us their time in what is a really important process for the city for a much needed building. And we're glad to be in a position to start this process, and really appreciate your efforts to work with us to make these really important decisions, and to you know, make sure that we are letting folks know in our community with what's happening and why and when, and invite their participation so we all make the best decisions possible for the city. So thank you for that. Any other new business?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, roll call.
Joseph Smart.
Yes.
Lorraine Gately.
Yes.
Pat Tutwiler.
Yes.
Stephen Smith.
Yes.
Mike Donovan.
Yes.
Kevin Rittershouse.
Yes.
Deborah Ruggiero.
Yes.
Mike Bertino.
Yes.
Rich Marlin.
yes.
Peter Kay.
Yes.
Lori Makala.
Yes.
Jim Ridley.
Yes.
Rick Starbird.
Yes.
Diana Jacutis.
Yes.
Jessica Gerarda.
Yes.
Karen Miller.
Yes.
And John Ford.
Yes.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.